is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. It's time to head north for the MSP North podcast, covering high school sports across Montgomery and Robertson counties. Now, here are your hosts, Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the MSP North podcast. We are really in the nitty-gritty of the postseason now. We are 1 week away from spring fling. Really, the best of the best teams remain. Blaine, I know you got plenty of teams left. How have you been putting up with things this week?
Well, Robertson County teams have kept me busy, and I'm losing sleep by the different names that I've been called, nicknames over the course of this spring. In case you missed it last week, someone mistook me for Mark Zuckerberg on this screen here. So if anyone's got any other likenesses that you want to call me, I'm looking to complete at least 4 by the end of spring fling.
That's right. We've got Urkel, Mr. Peabody, who is a dog, and Mark Zuckerberg is the most recent one. We love to see that. But speaking of teams who are playing deep into the season, our first guest is no stranger to that. His team is still alive. We welcome in for the second time on the MSP North podcast, Dustin Smith, the head coach of the Clarksville Academy Cougars baseball team. Dustin, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing great, man. So before we get into your upcoming series in the postseason, let's talk about your last win. You guys went to Chattanooga, long drive down there, and beat Notre Dame. Tell us a little bit about that game. I believe the score was 3-1 in that, so it was a pretty close one.
Yeah, it was a single game. With Blues and you're done, and we did some research on Notre Dame and found they had a really good pitcher, which makes you nervous in a single game series to face time. And he was very, very good. We had to scrap across a couple runs early to give us a lead. And then the crazy thing was, at the 5 o'clock start, the school has no light. We get a lightning delay and have to go inside the basketball gym. And then it comes a monsoon, and the field is unplayable. Luckily, we found a turf field at Boyd Buchanan across the town there, and they was able to go over there and finish it, and was able to hold them off from scoring to win 3-1.
I can't imagine you've done that many times where you start a game at one field, finish it at another.
First time in my 18 years. Yes, first time.
Hey, there's a first time for everything. And speaking of a first time, in your next games of the state tournament, the Tennessee state tournament, I should say, you're going to be playing games in Mississippi against North Point.
Exactly, and it's not the first time, which is crazy. In 2019, we played North Point in the single elimination game that we just got done playing, and had to go to South Haven and play them in Mississippi, and then we came back and went to Knoxville and played against Knoxville Webb in the 3-game series, and won both of those and went to the final spring fling there in 2019. So it's not the first time, but it is very different to go to Mississippi to play a state champion game in Tennessee.
Yeah, it is bizarre. They're a former Tennessee school, moved south of the border, ironically called North Point Christian, even though they're south of Tennessee. I guess they're north in Mississippi, but hey. But I would imagine you guys are the only team playing a Tennessee state tournament game in Mississippi this weekend. What have you seen from that team that you guys are going to be working on and looking to do to beat them?
It's they're solid. They've got some good pitching. They've got some solid offense. It's going to be a tough road ahead for us. But I've done research on those guys, and they've got a right-handed pitcher that's committed to Ole Miss. That's also their shortstop, and I've seen some things about him being a two-way guy at Ole Miss. They've got a big kid at first base. Last name is Brown. That's committed to Kentucky. So they've got 2 SEC guys, and then they've got some pieces around them. So it's going to take a good effort from our kids, but I feel like we've had a good week of practice, and our guys are prepared, and they know what's at stake, and, we should leave everything on the table.
Well, Coach, it's not the first time that you've gone up against a roster loaded with college talent. I mean, you look at not only your district, but the road that you've taken to get here. You've played Grace Christian, you've played Good Pasture, but those teams pretty close. You've played them, at least Good Pasture, more than once. When you have to face off against those teams, how do you think that preps you for this final run as you try to get to the state, round in Middle Tennessee Christian?
It prepares us well. That's the goal. The goal is to play as many good teams as you can and solid rosters as you can. That way, when you get to the postseason, you've seen pretty much everything and know what to expect. We're going to a different area. We haven't been to this side, Memphis, at all this year. We went east a couple times and played in Gatlinburg and some stuff. So we don't really know the talent level that's there. But I know there's 4 teams left from the Memphis area. So I know there's some solid baseball down there. So what we'll do is we'll just, we'll leave on the bus in the morning and get prepared and try to just mentally play our game. We did scout those guys and got some stuff on them, but it's really hard to go away from what we've done all year long. So we're going to do our thing. We may make a few adjustments, but hopefully we can just continue the success that we've had and see if we can push forward.
Yeah, when you guys have been as successful as you guys have this season, might as well keep doing what you've been doing. And I know baseball is really a team, or rather a sport of team accomplishments. But you guys just got some word of an incredible individual accomplishment this week. I want to bring up the stats here on my phone because you guys just tweeted them out earlier today. But DJ Merriweather, your first baseman and a starting pitcher, was nominated as a Mr. Baseball finalist. I want to read off some of these stats because I knew he was good, but some of these stats are just incredible. He's hitting .585. Over half of his hits are for extra bases, nearly 60 RBIs. He's walking too, because I know some people will be like, well, batting average doesn't tell the whole story. 31 walks, 29 stolen bases. But then you look on the mound, he's got an ERA of 1 with 82 strikeouts in 47 innings. I mean, this guy, DJ Merriweather, man, this guy's a 3-sport athlete and really a 2-position star on the baseball field. Just give us your pitch for why this guy deserves to win this award.
And they talk about the award being Mr. Baseball, but when they sent me the information, they want to know what kind of grades he's had. They want to know what kind of kid he is. And that he sells it that way. Every teacher in the school building talks about him being one of their best students. He's focused. He's locked in the classroom. He's the quarterback on the football team. He's the point guard on the basketball team. He's our leader on our team. So he's just a guy that you enjoy coaching. He's one of the most humble kids that I've ever been around. And this baseball talent, like you said, those numbers speak for themselves. I've never had a kid that put up numbers anywhere in those categories. And we just went through our school records, and he's probably going to break 7 individual school records this year alone. So it just speaks for itself.
Yeah, that is incredible. Not every day you run across a player like that in your program. So he's definitely been a huge reason why you guys have gotten here, along with a lot of other talent on the team. Now, speaking of talent, you were a pretty decent ball player back in the day yourself, drafted by the Detroit Tigers organization. Of course, as some people know, as you know, my favorite team. And I was looking through, you played with West Michigan, I believe, one of your years in the Tigers organization. And I was looking through that roster that you were there. And one name that jumped out to me, a name that maybe not everyone recognizes, but Joel Zumaya was a guy who played for the Tigers for several years, was known for throwing well over 100 miles per hour fastball. And I was wondering, we had a guest on last week who played college football with Jacoby Jones, and now we've got you on who pitched with Joel Zumaya. I wanted to give you a chance to maybe brag about maybe some of the players you've gone against. If you ever threw a bullpen with that guy who was pumping 100 miles per hour and what that was like, being able to see that up close.
That's a good. Joel is actually one of my real good friends. I still talk to him. We were actually roommates. Every time we go on the road, they get a roommate, and Joel was my roommate. So I got to. They called him Kid K when we played for him because he just struck everybody out as he threw 100 miles an hour. But it was funny. I got on a flight to head to West Michigan, and when I got there, they announced that I was going to be the starter that night because the other starter was injured or something. That's why I got called up to West Michigan. And after that game was over, I met Joel and met some other guys, and the guy's like, this guy throws 100, it's like, whatever, I've heard a bunch of people throw 100. And then the next game, after you start, you're in the stands, and you have to keep the radar gun and the pitch chart for the pitcher for the next day. And the first pitch that Joel threw was 99. I'm like, I guess this guy's the real deal, but super humble guy, and learned a lot from him. He got drafted in the 12th round out of high school. He was only throwing 92 to 93, and I was asking him, I said, well, that's what I throw, 92, 93. I need to figure out how to jump up to 100, And he said, well, I did some yoga, and I did long toss with Barry Zito because they're both in the California area and stuff. I get home and I try the yoga and I'm trying the long toss, but just didn't transfer the way that Joel did. But no, he was a great dude and fun to be around.
Yeah, getting the fastball up to what he was able to. Probably nothing that most mortals can accomplish. But he's definitely a fan favorite in Detroit. Good to hear that you guys are still close and that he's doing well. But Dustin, thank you so much for joining us today. Awesome talking to you, and best of luck as you head down to Mississippi this week.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for helping us and bringing us in and giving us a little pub. And hopefully guys can, I know they probably won't be able to make it to Mississippi, but just keep up with us and tune in on Twitter or whatever and see how we're doing and wish us luck.
You know it. We hope to see you in Murfreesboro.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that was Dustin Smith, head coach of the Clarksville Academy Cougars. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Shaun Oakley, Christian Community Baseball head coach.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Welcome back to the MSP North podcast. Once again, your host, Brady McAtamney and Blaine Killer.
We are back on the MSP North podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Brady, we go from one coach who is vying for a spot in the state tournament in Murfreesboro to a team that has won its state championship for another year. We're talking about the TSIAA, of course, the Tennessee Secondary Independent Athletic Association. Give me props for remembering that. But on the phone now, Shaun Oakley, Christian Community Baseball coach. Shaun, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations on another championship.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on today. And, we've had another good year.
Yes, and referring to Saturday's 8-5 win against Franklin Christian Academy, I believe that was at Zion Christian for your fourth title in the last 5 seasons. And Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, the one season that didn't happen was because of COVID. So we're really talking about a clean slate over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it was COVID year in 2020 was that break there where I think we only played 3 or 4 games to start that season. Then everybody, got banged. So, but yeah, we've had a good run. We've had a good group of kids. We had some 9th graders that came in, I think, in 2019. So we had a good group then, and then obviously, they're graduating this year, so they're going to be missed for sure.
Well, Coach, you talk about some players that are maybe headed out, but I mean, some of the talent that's come in this season has been extremely impressive. Of course, we're talking about the 2 Alston brothers, Ashton and Gavin, a midseason addition, transfer from Gallatin. Ashton, a sophomore, already committed to the University of Alabama, and Gavin, a really solid player in his own regard. If you could just talk about just the addition that those guys kind of brought. I know they couldn't play in TSIAA competition this year, but the opportunity to have guys of that caliber come and join your squad, what was that like for you?
Oh yeah, it was definitely huge. The Gavin and Ashton coming in, they had played with some of my existing players, in summer ball and stuff. So I think there was 4 or 5 existing players, they had a friendship with them in the summer and, are friends. So, they fit in nicely. It was a good environment for them. And, I was super happy to obviously have them, even though, I didn't have them for conference games.
Yeah, Blaine mentioned you guys have won basically every TSIA championship in seasons that have been played over the last 5 seasons. Those are a lot of goals achieved. I'm just wondering, when you've done that much in the last couple seasons, what could possibly be left for Christian community to accomplish?
Well, I mean, I think, what's left is obviously we still want to, compete for a championship every year. But, probably top on the list now is we want to build the program. And we got some field upgrades that we're wanting to do to our field. But, yeah, definitely building the program is probably priority number one for me right now. Traditionally, we've only had varsity baseball. And that's the only team we've had. So this year we were able to have a JV team also. And I think they played 6 or 7 or 8 games, missed some because of the rain, the rainouts. But so we were able to get that program up and running this year, which was nice. And, give a chance for some of the younger players, that aren't in a starting position, to get the reps in and, get some game time.
And Coach, you mentioned kind of building a program, and I think that kind of comes with a little bit of notoriety too. We talk about winning these championships, but really putting your name out in Robertson County. Even you guys faced Joe Burns, you faced White House, you faced White House Heritage this season. Is that something you guys are maybe looking forward to more in the years to come as you try to build something for the future? Just playing a lot of these TSSAA Robertson County schools and competing against them.
Yeah, for sure. I think this year was the first year that, that I had scheduled the most games against, public schools. So we're going to continue to do that. I've got a few more on the list, and, I've had phone calls from other schools that are, wanting to get on our schedule this year, which is great. So, yeah, word's kind of getting out. Obviously, winning, helps that. I think Ashton and Gavin, have been a big part of, getting word out about CCS, and, Ashton for sure. I mean, he's got a lot of people that follow him. So, that's helped us out a lot right there.
Well, when you talk about Ashton and Gavin, obviously those two players are big assets to a team that wants to really compete, not only in its own division, but in the TSSAA in the years to come against those schools. But you've had some talent this year that's really stuck out as well. Connor Martin committed to Campbellsville. Lawson T is a big bat for you guys that you've told me personally that you think he could, maybe get the opportunity to play in college next year. From this season, who are some of the players that have stuck out in your mind?
Well, yeah, obviously, Lawson has. I mean, he's a big bat, and he's carried us on his back. Probably, the last 2 games, either pitching or that semifinal game against Franklin Road Christian. He had 3 home runs in that game, and actually had the walk-off winning home run. So, he's back next year, which is great. We have a couple seniors though this year. We had, Connor Martin had labrum surgery in the fall, so he was our top pitcher last year. And, before all that happened, we were, excited to have him back as our top pitcher again this year. So obviously he couldn't throw this year from the mound. So we had 2 other guys. We had Connor Newton and Garrett Oakley. They're both position players. They can pitch a little bit, but we really relied on those 2 this year to pick up, what Martin, couldn't throw innings and stuff. And I think both of those 2 kids, they ended up throwing close to 28, 30 innings each for us this year. So, that was big on their part, being able to get on the mound and throw for us.
Shaun Oakley joining us on the MSP North podcast. 4 TSIAA titles in the last 5 years. I knew that was going to trip me up at some point, but
yeah.
Coach, congratulations once again on the title. I know it's a big deal for you and your team. Enjoy the offseason, get those upgrades done, and can't wait to talk to you next spring.
Okay. Hey guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys covering us and helping get word out about CCS. And thank you for all you do, not just for us, but for the other teams in Northern Tennessee, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shaun. We are going to go to one final break. When we come back, as usual, our one thing, our performance of the week, and our game of the week.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best-looking girl in Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Nobody covers high school sports quite like Main Street Preps, bringing you hyper local coverage of the teams and athletes in your backyard. Wherever your Main Street is, well, we got a podcast for you. From the Sumner County Sports Podcast with Zach Womble, Casey's Take on Sports with Dixon Post and Cheatham County Exchange sports reporter Casey Patrick, the MSP North Podcast with Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller, covering Montgomery and Robertson counties, to Main Street Preps This Week with Russell Venozzi and Tyler Palmatier with a macro view of prep sports in Middle Tennessee. Find the latest prep sports news from your Main Street at mainstreetpreps.com and find these podcasts dropping weekly on these Main Street Media social platforms and wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we take you back up north. Our hosts, Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller.
Welcome back to the MSP North podcast. Let's get started on our One Thing segment. Blaine, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, we mentioned at the beginning of the show that Robertson County has kept me busy, and it's going to continue to do so in the region semifinals. Of the 9 teams, 9 that reached the region tournament in Robertson County, 6 will play on Friday or Saturday for a shot to go to the state tournament. We're talking every team in Robertson County has a chance of making it to the state tournament. I don't know of any other county where that's happening. You can definitely @ me on Twitter and let me know if I'm missing something. But I don't know of many schools in Middle Tennessee in the state that have a team in every county or a school inside the county that has a shot of making it to the state tournament.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I definitely know we can't say the same thing about Montgomery County, but there are a couple schools in the county that have 2 teams going to their region championship games with a chance to get to state later this week. Rossview and Montgomery Central. Rossview, of course, sending their baseball team to play Henry County actually tonight as we record this Wednesday, and their soccer team on Thursday will play Henry County, while Montgomery Central will be facing their baseball team will be facing Greenbrier, and their softball team is getting going as well on Wednesday night. So by the time this airs, you will have all the results for those games, except for the soccer game, of course. So stay tuned for updates on that, of course. You can follow us on Twitter. We'll have all the stories, all the updates that you will need there. But impressive for those 2 schools to have 2 teams playing in big games.
Yeah, we go from one soccer team that's advancing to one soccer team that season has ended. The best soccer season in Greenbrier school history came to a close last night at Trevecca Nazarene University. Valor College Prep really pulling away in the second half with a 4-0 win. It was 1-0 in the 58th minute, 3 goals in the last 10. Really took all the wind out of Greenbrier's sails. Was their second region tournament appearance all time, first since 2011, and a school record 13 wins for the Bobcats. A really good season for first-year coach Jonathan Sutton. And they only graduate 1 senior. So I think there's a lot of potential for them to get back to this point next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Great season for Greenbrier. Definitely a little disappointing to not be able to get further than they did. But as far as my second one thing, we're looking at the track and field. West Creek, Northeast, and Kenwood all sending multiple representatives to the state track championships. I know we talk about Montgomery County being a great basketball county, and it is, and wrestling also another sport where this county really shines. But track and field, I feel like it can get a little forgotten at times with how many other sports are in the spring cycle and teams doing well in the spring cycle. But those three schools, especially this season, have done excellent work getting those kids to state. Now, Blaine, what do you say we get into our performance of the week?
Absolutely. And what bigger performance than from a freshman in an absolutely wild region semifinal game. We're talking White House Heritage in Giles County. It is 8-3 White House Heritage in the 7th inning, top of the 7th. Chance to close it out and move to the first region championship in school history. Giles County scores 5 runs in the top of the 7th to tie it up. So now we're 8-8 with the 7, 8, 9 hitters coming up for Heritage. Tyler Zeligman doubles. Caden Rains hits a bunt single. And the freshman Caden Wagner hits a walk-off sac fly to center field for the Patriots to reach their first region championship in school history. Just the third time they've ever been to the region tournament. Absolutely phenomenal performance. I mean, just to get contact on the ball and advance in the postseason in what was an absolutely insane game.
Absolute nails from a freshman in a huge game. So very impressive stuff. I want to go to the softball field. Montgomery Central's Peyton Harris against Central Magnet in a do-or-die game. She throws 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 11 strikeouts in that game to get Montgomery Central to that region championship game. Section comes later. My brain, it's hard keeping up with all this stuff. But they're going to be facing Creekwood, a team that they've already played 3 times this season. And Peyton Harris, you got to imagine she'll be on the mound with the way she's been throwing lately. Absolutely excellent work on the mound.
Well, it's really surprising. I mean, just you tip your hat to Montgomery Central altogether. I mean, I joked earlier in our group chat, the immortal Brian Dunn getting the opportunity to reach his Todd Dunn. Sorry, yep. I'm thinking of Austin Peay broadcaster Brian Reeves. I'm getting myself confused here. Like you said, this past week has just been absolutely crazy. Todd Dunn. Sending the baseball team to the region championship against Greenbrier, and first-year coach for Montgomery Central, really taking them farther than I think anyone would have imagined.
Yeah, both of those Montgomery Central teams having excellent seasons. Definitely, probably surprising some people getting to those region championship games, and we'll see how much further they can go.
As far as your game of the week, I think we both got sectionals lined up for Friday and Saturday. What do you got in mind, Brady?
Yeah, so looking at the sectionals, we've got Rossview baseball and soccer. They're going to be facing teams, pretty much all of these teams except for Montgomery Central are going to be facing teams from the Memphis area. So Rossview baseball and soccer will both be there. Of course, we'll know whether they'll be home or away. They're both going up against Henry County to determine the site of that game. CHS softball, where they're going to be facing Springfield tonight, Wednesday, of course. And that's another rematch where, I mean, it feels like these two are just bound to meet up. And it's almost seems like they both have pretty solid chances to get to state. Looking at the Memphis area softball landscape, it seems CHS and Springfield are probably both favored in their potential matchups. Then, of course, we just talked about Montgomery Central baseball and softball, as well as Northeast soccer. They are rather known Northeast Soccer. I had them on here before. Unfortunately, they lost to Henry County on Tuesday night. Their season came, unfortunately, to an end, along with Clarksville baseball, 2 teams whose season, unfortunately, ended before the region championship. But Rossview baseball and soccer, CHS softball, Montgomery Central baseball and softball. All looking forward to those sectional games.
Yeah, you gotta give us some grace here. This week has been absolutely crazy, and we've got to try to catch up the day of, pretty much. On my end, Springfield softball, of course, Brady mentions that with Clarksville. Joe Burton softball looks for its first state tournament berth. East Robertson baseball looks for a defense of its 1A title. White House Heritage baseball and soccer looking to make it to the state tournament for the first time. Of course, Greenbrier, which reached the state tournament last year, looks for its 4th state tournament berth. With a win on Wednesday against Montgomery Central, they'll get a home game on Friday against a Jackson school.
And that should do it for us today. The MSP North podcast. Next time you hear from us, it's going to be spring fling. Our brains will be even more fried than ever. We'll probably be sunburned. but it's going to be a real fun week coming up next week as we get into those state tournament chases. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
This has been the MSP North Podcast with your hosts, Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller. Follow Brady on Twitter at Brady_MSP and Blaine at sports_BK, and always online at MainStreetPreps.com. The MSP North Podcast is a Main Street Media production.